Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tampa Bay Inno's Crisis Innovators Virtual State of Innovation. Quite the mouthful, but I appreciate you guys being here today to learn about some of the cool things local startups are doing during this crazy coronavirus time. Before we get started, I just want to remind everyone on the right-hand side, for any questions you want to ask, there's a little tab that helpfully says questions, and just feel free to enter them in as you think of them, and we'll ask our panelists at the end of our panel in a Q&A portion. So just wanted to start off with that. But to give a little bit about background about who we are and what we're doing here, I'm Lauren Coffey. I'm the person behind Tampa Bay Inno, and we are part of a 14-city network called American Inno in places like Austin, Atlanta, DC, Boston, anywhere that cool, innovative stuff is happening. We're pretty much there covering early stage tech and startups in the ecosystem. So we do that a couple different ways, but the main way we do it, and that I recommend you doing, is going to tampabayinno.com and signing up for our newsletter that gives you all the information you need to know about the ecosystem twice a week. So we cover things like fundings, mergers and acquisitions, cool features, job postings, and events like this. So strongly encourage you to do that. And we couldn't do any of that without our sponsors. So just big thank you to University of Tampa, Omni Public, and Synapse Florida. I'll tell you a little bit about them before we get into the panel. So University of Tampa specifically wanted to mention its Spartan Accelerator and Incubator program. It's designed to help current students, recent alums, and early stage community businesses grow their business ideas. It's a live lab for up to 9 early stage businesses, and they will receive expert guidance from faculty, venture capitalists, and entrepreneurs in residence. So participating businesses can represent a broad range of industries, including healthcare, horticulture, food service, and technology. UT also offers bachelor's and master's degrees in entrepreneurship, so pretty fitting for this event and for Inno in general. If you're interested in learning more about the incubator or the programs in general, you can go to ut.edu/entrepreneur. And Omni Public, another one of our sponsors, is a strategy, public affairs, and public relations firm specializing in helping companies introduce new technologies, concepts, and ideas in the marketplace. And they also help their clients navigate media, government, and industry. And now we have someone actually from Synapse Florida who's going to come on and talk a little bit about what they're doing. So Monica, I think we'll unmute you or turn your video on. Hey.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes, we can see you, we can hear you. Let's hear about Synapse.
Awesome, thanks, Lauren. So hi, everyone. My name is Monica Angel. I'm the Director of Partner Success for Synapse Florida. For those of you who don't know, Synapse is a nonprofit, and our aim is to connect and to highlight the amazing work of innovators and entrepreneurs throughout the state of Florida. We empower our innovators to accomplish their goals by building meaningful connections and sharing ideas. We're always proud to partner with Lauren and Tampa Bay Inno and continue to highlight all the stellar work that's being done by entrepreneurs in Florida. While we do know that many have been negatively impacted by COVID-19, we're still really encouraged by the tremendous fortitude that we've seen in our community. We're seeing startups that are adapting, new partnerships and collaborations forming, and innovation solutions booming. Excuse me. Our mission, I hope you cannot hear my dog who's completely snoring underneath me right now. So I apologize that it's fine. Super, super loud. It sounds like construction over here. Our mission over at Synapse is to keep community first, and it led us to launch Synapse Resources. If you haven't checked that out yet, it helps to connect innovators to find what you need and share what you have, and you can check that out at our website, synapsefl.com. We also know that staying connected can be really tough for everyone right now, regardless of your industry, but Synapse is remaining committed to helping you to find and build those meaningful connections and to share those ideas. We did recently launch our Live 8 and Learn, which features innovative leaders from across our state and kind of a more informal webinar every other Tuesday at 4:30. Please join us next week for how to successfully shift career paths, which we know many are doing right now. Our first all virtual conference, Converge, brought us together and gave us the opportunity to shine a light on startups from across the state, and then to highlight industry leaders from companies like PwC, ReliaQuest, who Lauren covered today, and more. We were able to quickly bring about thought leaders and experts together to bring their best practices, helpful tools, and new opportunities for experts as we all begin that new virtual normal. We are still hard at work planning our next events, continuing to showcase the best and the brightest in Florida. So if you haven't done so yet, please sign up for our newsletter and you can be the first to hear a big announcement that we've got coming next week. And as always, feel free to reach out to me directly anytime. My email is monica.angel@synapsefl if there's anything that we can do to support you. But for now, just please continue to join us in celebrating the entrepreneurial spirit and showing the world that innovation lives here.
Thank you, Monica. Quite the speech. Now we're going to get to what you're all here for, which is our panel. We're going to have Keriann Greenhalgh, the founder of KeriCure, Shuchi Vyas, the founder of Guestbox, and Daniel's Ikajevs, with the co-founder of the Ring co-working space, come on. So guys, you're welcome to come on now. And we're all here. Thanks guys for being here today. I really appreciate it. I know you kind of run the gamut of what you've been doing. So I think between the three of you, we'll cover everything the audience wants to know. But just a reminder again, guys, to put any questions you have for our panelists in the right-hand side of the question box, and we will ask those at the end. So I'll start off with an easy one. We all got hit with this in March when it kind of came through and turned everything on its head. So what were you guys thinking during this time? What were your very first initial steps in this unprecedented times? I know, Shuchi, you have an interesting backstory when it comes to this, so I'll start off with you.
Sure, yeah. March is actually when I came up to New York because we had opportunities with investors, with new customers, et cetera. And so it started to make sense for me to just be here on a month-to-month basis and kind of work through all of that. And then I actually was invited to the Tory Burch Foundation Women's event on March 5th, the Women's Day event. And so, you know, all of this optimism and, you know, they still kind of kept the event going. And I guess I'm a little bit of an eternal optimist. So I was like, okay, this is going to blow over. Like everything's going to be fine. And then I think reality started to hit to when customers were calling and they were like, we can't work with you right now. We're going to have to postpone this. We just lost $75,000 today, and so on and so forth. And so that's when it started to become very real. And so then we had to start thinking about what to do next.
Yeah. Okay. Keriann, what was it like for you?
Yeah, so I was actually supposed to be in the phase 3 competition for my Army X-Tech search program. It was during spring break and we were going to Huntsville, Alabama. So I actually ended up renting a house up there on the lake, brought the family, drove all up there, and I was going to be at the conference for a day or two doing my competition pitch, and it ended up going virtual. You know, it was March 17th, 15th that time. So we were there anyways on vacation, and still did the pitch virtually. Luckily I won and progressed to phase 4, but that was the first sign of it, you know, changing. And, you know, that was kind of last minute change to virtual because, you know, we didn't know until I think 2 weeks before that they were going to do that. So that was a little bit of a scramble, and, you know, things have definitely gotten better since in terms of planning these virtual events and us all getting used to Zoom and Go Meets and everything. But yeah, so when we came back from that, you know, we found out we won 2 days later, so that was fantastic. And we were just so slammed with everything we had to do for the competition that it really didn't sink in for us until, you know, we started getting calls from our manufacturer saying, hey, I remember you have this hand sanitizer formula. Can I have it? I was like, yeah. Bust it out and see, you know, how it does now. I did it like 3 years ago, and so that kind of started everything and was a little offshoot for us. You know, we didn't have too much of an effect other than we had just launched our medical side, so selling directly to physician offices like dermatology and plastics and medi spas, and obviously they closed early. So that side, and you know, was on hold, and the one sales lady who we had working those wasn't able to really do anything. So she ended up going looking for something elsewhere. But you know, otherwise, the hand sanitizer stuff kind of fell into our laps because my family is up in New Jersey, and they were going, Keriann, we can't find this anywhere. If you have it, let me know and I'll share it. And I think she posted the first day my sister shared my Facebook post. We had like 200 orders. We're like, whoa, this is crazy. So yeah, it was definitely definitely an interesting kickoff and extremely hectic the first month or two for us.
Yeah, and now you've sold like 50,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, right?
Yeah, more than
Just
that
like
now.
unfathomable. Great. I mean, lots of exciting stuff happening for sure, and we'll dive into it more. Daniels, what about you? What were things like? Because you're in the co-working space, so I mean, were you concerned at all at first?
Well, certainly very concerned. Nobody has a blueprint really how to tackle a problem like that. So it's definitely a challenge. And we, from my side, I was a little bit fortunate. I have a relative that lives in Italy. And in February, Italy was one of the hardest hit countries in the world. So I was constantly talking to her and just trying to pick her brain, sort of like, and seeing what's happening there to really try to prepare as much as possible, going forward. So we really were really proactive in getting PPE, getting all the maintenance supplies ready, and really just kind of creating various scenarios, to sort of prepare ourselves and the team to address anything that we would be facing going forward. So prepared teams probably is one of the things that is really, really important, because if you are prepared, then you really you don't panic. You can take things more calmly and just have a better game plan basically going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you were set, right, when this kind of hit Tampa Bay, because like you said, you had the Italy connection, and so you knew what was coming versus some of us, I think, didn't, obviously.
I mean, I heard the stories and then just saw what we need to do going forward.
Yeah, wish we all had heard that, but I'm glad we figured it out now. And what is it like right now? It's 5 months out, which is crazy to say, but Keriann, you touched on this a little bit, but how are things different with you, and what is it now?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much the same. We operate mostly out of a home-based office, so in terms of our day-to-day, it's pretty much the same. My employees come here, but for a lot of the like Shuchi mentioned earlier when we were chatting, a lot of the components that we use for our normal products, bottles and sprayers, are having massive lead times because everyone's buying them up. And just even our manufacturer, they had a skeleton crew for a little bit because they're in Baltimore and Maryland, and they got hit pretty hard. So just getting orders filled became challenging, especially early summer. It's getting back to normal a little bit more. We thought we were going to have, by August, September, the bottles, it would kind of be over and everyone would stop monopolizing all my components, but it hasn't seemed to happen. It's still a waiting game for a lot of stuff. So we ended up actually having to get some bottles and sprayers from China, which we normally don't do. We like to keep all of our US plastics and the guys we've been using for the past 7 years. So that's been a bit of a challenge, but in terms of our day-to-day operation, we're a pretty close company. So we're a small group here, and then we rely on our manufacturing partners and some of our test facilities. So we work with a lot of places that, everything's been Zoom, everything had to adjust in terms of how we interact with them, but it's all doable.
Yeah, so it was quicker in China for your manufacturer than in the Baltimore?
No, to get bottles
Yeah.
and sprayers. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. And Shuchi, you're nodding a lot. And how was it like for you?
Yeah. So in terms of supply chain, is that
or just things, how are things in general right now?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. So what's interesting, just piggybacking off of what Keriann said, is we, right at the time when she was starting to create hand sanitizer products, we started feeling a need for that. And then learning that big companies like Purell had run out of everything that's travel size, knowing that, these sprayers are not available, we were actually able to source from India. So that was interesting. And, Keriann actually reached out to me after Lauren, you wrote that story about my company, and we actually partnered. And so we actually have, to adding to her 50,000, we're adding another 1,000 for now and more to come. But I think the larger picture is that we started to procure more sanitation and wellness products. And so that's really what people are looking for. And we had them in our very early days of Guestbox and like our beta in 2017. We actually had hand sanitizer products, and people were like, we don't need that. Like there's soap. And so
Mhm.
we kind of eliminated it to now kind of go back to suppliers. It was interesting to do that. But yes, we're able to, really curate boxes that have more of that sanitation and wellness feel to it, with high quality products like Keriann's, where, there is the moisturizing component as well, because people are tired of like scratchy hands.
The dry, cracked hands,
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things.
Oh, I love stories like that. And I hear that a lot where people are like, oh, I reached out to so and so after I read about them or whatever. I mean, it's not all the time, but I love that kind of stuff. And it's just cool that we all came together today. So happy about that. But Daniel, what about you? How are things right now? Are people using co-working spaces?
So we actually were open since mid-May. We came back.
Oh, wow.
So it's definitely a lot of adjustment. We follow strict CDC guidelines right now. So we have put open seating 6 feet apart. So it's definitely a lot of adjustment in co-working spaces. Suites, they definitely stay the same way. We put hand sanitizers on every single desk, in every suite. Definitely changed completely our maintenance protocol right now. So we clean space a lot more frequently. We sanitize. We definitely have also game scenario where if one of our members do get sick, with COVID-19, we have various steps that we follow to again sanitize the space and then warn obviously all our members as well about these type of cases. So a lot of changes, but nothing that we can overcome. I think that we see the people are coming back. People are missing office spaces as well. So we are back in full force.
Yeah, let's stay with you for a minute. So I know obviously you're a little biased because you have a co-working space, but what do you think the future of co-working is going to look like when things are all said and done? Are people still going to want to be distant with each other, do you think, and have the hand sanitizer? Or what do you think this all looks like?
That's a great question. I think that co-working actually, in many ways, is probably one of the best office space currently, because we have a lot of flexibility. If the open spaces don't work, then we have suites or we have assigned desk spaces. Just there's, for various levels of comfort, we have solutions. So, and that is really important, I think, going forward as well. So we are in a decent shape. I think going forward, we see in general just more demand for flexibility. It's hard and harder to find tenants in a building where they look for 5-10 years. It's in the fast-moving economy that we have right now. It's just difficult to predict whether they need more space or less space. So committing to 5,000 square feet is very difficult going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, have you seen a lot of people who want the co-working spaces to get out of the houses that we've all been trapped in for the last couple of months? Or is that like the most common thing you're hearing?
People are social beings, right? So I mean,
Right.
they do miss seeing other people. If you look at some statistics, divorce is on the rise because you spend so much time with your other that it starts just creating. You don't have that personal space any longer.
Mm-hmm.
Office in many ways provides another social setting. Another choice for social interactions. And just also, if you have a private suite, you have your own private space as well. So it's just, something that people do miss.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard from people too, where it's like their office isn't going back, but they want to get out of their house, and so that's where the co-working space comes in. So I'm just interested to see where it all ends up. None of us really know. But speaking of going back to work, are you, Shuchi and Keriann, are you guys back in the office, or what are you guys doing with your employees?
We've always been a remote company, so this doesn't really change much. So that, and then we have partners that do various things like fulfillment, and some of it we do in-house. We have our warehouse space, all of that, and we maintain all the social distancing measures there as well. Everything is kind of sanitized when it comes in, all of that. But with regards to, I think like in terms of selling to customers, that I am doing remotely, so that's a challenge. Usually it would be in person. I'm in a traditional industry, hospitality. There's a lot of like in-person interaction, and it's different. So I'm not saying it's not working. It's just been a different mindset.
Yeah, for sure. And Keriann, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, we all work remotely as well, and then I'm actually fortunate enough. My managing director, who's been with us, gosh, I think 6 years now. She actually lives 4 houses down from me,
Oh, wow.
so it's a short commute to work. So she never stopped coming. And one of the great things about having all the universities go remote and online, some of my nieces who have worked for me in the past, now we're back from school, and I was able to snag them up and have them come and work for me, and help with a lot of, especially in the beginning with the production, with the hand sanitizers. We were having them send us, jugs and drums of it, and we were filling here in our facility, our lab space, just to get started, because they, had no people in the manufacturing plant. So it was really, really helpful for us. And it's really saved a lot of money in terms of working with the Army and the X-Tech search, because we do a lot of virtual days where we give pitches to Army offices, or I think I have one that's a venture day coming up. And, we wouldn't get to be in front of as many people as we are because it's virtual, and I get to save a lot of money not having to travel, which is great.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying.
it's
So
been
much
nice.
time and money saved. Yeah, where you don't have to hop in a flight and spend a whole day traveling on a red eye and then come home and
Yeah.
exhausted and see your kids. Yeah, I mean, do you guys think that it might stay this way a little bit in your respective industries, where it is a little more virtual at least, or do you think it's going to go back
I
to
think they're going to keep that incorporation, the option for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shuchi,
Especially
what
with
about
the large conferences. I was
Oh,
gonna say,
yeah.
especially with like the large conferences. I mean, our one in October, the end of October, has already gone virtual on us too, which is our
Yeah.
big finale pitch. So, which is a bummer, but I mean, it's again saves all that hassle.
Mm-hmm. And maybe more people will listen or watch now because it is virtual.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that one I'm curious about conferences and how that's going to work even 2 years from now. But Shuchi, with hospitality, you mentioned it is a lot of face to face. The whole thing is about connection. So, I mean, how is that industry right now looking?
Yeah, well, people are surprisingly upbeat about everything. Like and I think some of these leading markets in hospitality, if we think more about food and beverage and all of that, like New York has kind of figured out the outdoor dining stuff pretty well, and it pretty quickly, And so hotels are also now, using their restaurants to kind of generate that local interest, as well as it's just a matter of time before the occupancy rates start going up again. Separately, road trips are doing really well, like like companies that can service those. So we're selling to them as well. And then specialized hospitality, we've actually been able to, we did the welcome boxes for the Disrupt the Base Speakers, the conference that happened recently. And so that was our first conference. And now we're in conversations with other virtual conferences as well. And then, some stuff for the corporate. So we're kind of going through the corporate, like the business travel executives to, understand how we can be helpful during this time as well. So
how did that work? Did you just mail them to their houses for the speakers?
Yeah. So we did a combination of that, and then some of them were hand delivered in the Tampa area, et cetera. And so, it's definitely a little bit of a different model because we're used to shipping in bulk, and now we're like kind of shipping individually. So it's a happy medium because we can still stay B2B, but then have that more personal delivery to a recipient. And so. It's interesting. We're also toying with some creative ideas with some of our hotel customers on mailing branded boxes to some of their loyal guests who can't come and like stay with them, but as a way to support local businesses through that as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Lots of innovating. And speaking of that and kind of all these changes that are happening, when this all started happening, a lot of entrepreneurs told me that it forced them to do kind of the boring or more like office-y kind of tasks where they didn't have time before, like overhauling their entire website, for example, or like really looking at their social media and fixing it. Was there one of these changes that you guys did where you were forced to because you wouldn't otherwise have done it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we basically are revamping our website right now to give people the option to tell us what the use case is, and that way we can figure out pricing accordingly, we can figure out volumes, etc. So we actually, we were kind of forced into that change. Like there was a miscommunication with Shopify and they thought we were selling PPE and we weren't, and they deleted our website. And so that forced us to go over to Wix. And then so now we're happy with Wix because it has a lot of different things we can do. And so
you're so calm when you're saying this.
It's been a month. Yeah, I was flipping out when it happened. I was like, "Are you sitting?" I actually wrote to the CTO of Shopify. I was like, "How could you?" And so basically, it took them 3 weeks to get back to me, but we weren't going to wait 3 weeks for our website. We got it back within 48 hours, and even in those 48 hours, there were certain key people that noticed, and I was like, "Oh, I hate that we don't have our website up." And so we kind of got together and said, how do we revamp this, right? Because now we're no longer servicing just hospitality or not just hotels. We're doing all this other stuff. So it's time to tell people. So a lot of what you don't see on the website is currently being worked on, where we're actually interviewing vacation rental hosts, posting their listings, posting their use case for Guestbox. We're starting to make inroads in the corporate world and then have those testimonials as well. And so, so it's been a creative time.
Yeah, that's one way to say it. Daniels, what about you? Did you make any changes that you just didn't have time to before, but now you have all this extra spare time?
Not as much in the ring, but you know, a lot of people obviously were forced to go back, you know, stay at home, and that gave me sort of more time to reflect and also look for more opportunities. So I'm actually working on a new startup right now, and launching probably in the next couple of months. It's pretty exciting.
We'll stay tuned. We'll talk about that after this call. I didn't know about that. All right, cool. Keriann, what about you? Have you been knocking any things off your checklist that you just didn't have time to before?
Gosh, no, we were so slammed, especially in the beginning. It was insane. We were more trying to hustle to get everything in place to accommodate what we didn't realize was going to take off.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're mostly an Amazon business. We do most of our, you know, our consumer products. We were in about 2,500 stores nationwide when we first launched back in 2013, and we lived there for about 4 or 5 years, and then we made the executive decision to kind of pull out of brick and mortar and focus only on e-retail for our consumer products and our animal health products, just because it was a time suck dealing with the retailers and dealing with all the coupons and the BOGOs, and you have to pay for all of that. And it's just, you know, it gets in the coupons. Oh God, coupons.
The bane of your existence, I can tell already.
Yeah, you know, we were really trying to focus on building out our IP platform, you know, adding on some new products, some new FDA clearances, and trying to expand into the medical space. So we kind of scaled the retail side back to just Amazon. And so you know, our website has always been there, and we would get a couple orders here and there, but you know, everyone goes to Amazon. It's got the free shipping, all of that. So when the hand sanitizers, and we also have a fabric sanitizer spray too, when those came online, all of a sudden our website was blowing up, and we're like, whoa, we haven't done drop shipping in forever. Since the beginning. So we were hustling, trying to get it streamlined and then get everything looking, you know, polished on the website little by little, because when we first put it up, it was just like, oh, snap some pictures. You know, these are going crazy. We've got to get it out there. So over the summer, I think more so than in the beginning, we were able to step back and kind of make some graphics and get, you know, everything nice, presented nicer than we initially had up there. But yeah, it's been no downtime for us, unfortunately. Some things I'd like to get accomplished
right now, at least.
Yeah.
I'm tired hearing about it. I don't know how you guys do it sometimes, but just a reminder to our audience, make sure to put questions in the question box if you have any for our panelists, and we'll go over those at the end of our little talk right now. So just wanted to remind everyone. But Daniels, you had a couple solo projects you have going on, and you did something different during all this, where you donated your own money to the Fighting Chance Fund, right? Absolutely. And you also donated PPE. So what was the thought process behind that, just doing it on your own?
So Rick Price, Mayor of St. Pete, created a great program, and you know, I and my team wanted to contribute and give back sort of to the community. and also support startups. So we donated $25,000. That was my personal money. And then on top of that, we donated 2,500 masks, N95 masks. Were at that time it was so difficult to procure those masks. It was pretty much sold out everywhere. But because we were getting ready way ahead of everybody else, we were fortunate enough to secure our masks. And I think that when you look at general public, you have two groups of people. You have probably 50% of people that are really comfortable with what's going on. They kind of go about their life as usual. They go to restaurants, stores, and they feel safe out there. Then you have 50% of people that maybe are in a high risk group or just don't know much about the COVID-19. Maybe they live with children or elderly, and so they are more cautious and more careful. And so when we gave out those masks, we wanted to give them to restaurants and stores because again we wanted to create that more healthier environment and give more safety sort of feeling for people that maybe don't feel as safe as others.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, kudos to you first off. And I know you also just wanted to help, obviously, the startups that are struggling right now with Fighting Chance Fund.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. And I know Shuchi and Keriann, you guys have a lot of similarities with your businesses that are different, but just a question about funding. So what did you guys look for PPP funding or any kind of state or the Fighting Chance Fund or anything?
Yeah. So basically, yes, I applied to PPE and we got it. It was not much because it was then paid back in taxes for last year, so that was interesting. And then we actually were awarded a small grant from Tampa Bay Wave as well, so that's actually helping a lot with, especially with the pivots and the new markets that we're going into, and then of course like buying supplies that we absolutely need. Some part of that goes from that as well, and so. So yeah, those are the two so far. I mean, we're open to looking into other ones as well.
Right, Devin. Keriann, what about you?
Yeah, we got the PPE and the EDI ones, and we also got one. So we're actually based in Wesley Chapel, is our headquarters. So we were able to get, Pasco County had one that came out very early. That was employee payroll support. So we got that with 5,000, I believe, and then they actually just sent an email like 3 weeks ago or so, and we're like, hey, we have extra money. Here's another 500. We're like, thanks, this is great.
Wow, yeah. And I mean, what's it like right now to talk to investors? Is it pretty much the same except for virtual?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's still navigating this a little bit. At least that's what I see. We had a call with a founder who's kind of raised up beyond a Series A in the gifting space actually yesterday, and he was saying that most investors are just going to put an asterisk on this year, so like don't worry about it. Like use this time to innovate, right, and use this time to get data and traction in these other markets. But basically, I mean, everyone's understanding right now. And so I think it's a lot about the story that you tell and what picture you're able to paint in terms of new market opportunities that are not affected by COVID, especially with us in travel and hospitality. It's like it's not very well funded anyway. Like it's not one of those industries that gets a lot of funding.
Yeah,
I mean, the
you're not
few select that do it, real disruptors. And so I think we have really been lucky in terms of like finding opportunities beyond travel and hospitality and, and seeing that our model works there. And so right now we're really in that mode of like selling and piloting and data collection and all of that.
Gotcha. And Dana, do you do any funding or anything?
So, right now, just really concentrating on that startup coming out in a couple of months.
Yeah.
We did help out our community to sort of give back also in the rank. We gave a couple months free also, so just giving that little break that's necessary for these startups as well. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Have there been any changes you guys have made that you thought were temporary that are going to be permanent? I know Keriann, you are going to continue carrying the sanitizer, right? Even though it's not just like a one and done thing anymore.
No, yeah, we've gotten such great feedback on it. You know, the fact that it's a different style of hand sanitizer. It's not the gel, you know, jelly wet stuff. It's a spray on, and it's actually, I formulated it about 3 years ago for CVS when they were looking for a more moisturizing hand sanitizer. So yeah, they were on the right track then, but they never really picked it up after we created the formula. So it was just kind of sitting there for us. And we've had really great feedback from everyone that's ordered, saying, you know, they love the scents because we throw in a lot of essential oils. And then it's super moisturizing. I really I was in Alabama on spring break, and I had this one tiny little Purell, and I was like, oh crap, I guess I need this now. We never really used it because I don't like how normal hand sanitizers dry out your skin. It's really bad for them. So when I came back, I was like, all right, well, I need to make sure this is really moisturizing. Otherwise, I'm not going to do this because we don't want to be, you know, just spraying on straight alcohol like a lot of the stuff is right now. So yeah, no, we're definitely going to keep that. And then the fabric enclosed sanitizer spray, I use it everywhere. I spray down my car, you know, your clothes when you leave a place. We give it to all the teachers, spray their desks, the kids' desks. So that's been going really well, you know, because there's a need for it, something that's not with the shortage on Lysol wipes and stuff. And this is more natural. You know, it has those essential oils still, so your clothes smell nice and not like you just sprayed yourself with Lysol. No one wants that.
Right.
Yeah, so we're really happy with them. I think we're definitely going to keep those ongoing because it fits in with our, you know, theme, which is skin and wound care. So it kind of made perfect sense.
Definitely. Either of you guys where you made changes that were, you just thought, we'll just do this for now, but then you did it and you're like, oh, let's just keep doing this. Daniel's or Shuchi?
I think, you know, adding hand sanitizer products and masks. So we're working with local mask makers. So someone in the San Francisco Bay Area actually stitches our masks in a very professional way. He's a designer. And we also work with a company called Godvana that actually does tie-dye masks with not the elastic, but the tie thing at the back. And it's actually all manufactured in the US. So one thing is we want to work with more US based, and it's been our philosophy from the beginning to work with more US based companies. You know, over 50% of our companies are female and minority run businesses, and just more of that, seeing, you know, when your back is against the wall, seeing that, you know, China did not deliver. So it's basically and everyone's having the supply chain issues. So it's interesting because a lot of very large scale hospitality companies are also looking at setting up manufacturing units here for PPE and things like that. So I would say A, including a lot of this stuff, and B, local, focusing on local. So those are the two big things. And then always thinking outside the box, right? I think this has been a great opportunity for us to start testing other markets that were on our mind. So, you know, we want to get into co-working spaces, Daniel's hint, hint. But, you know, aside from that, also looking at corporate gifting and all of that, but doing it in a way that's not what everyone else is doing, but leveraging our uniqueness on diversity and inclusion and in a product category, and kind of curating those kind of experiences for people as they're stuck at home and going through a rough time. We're also looking at different kinds of meditation focus boxes, things like that as well.
Interesting. Daniels, what about you? I know you had a lot of these changes already before, but were there any that you made that you want to keep?
Yeah, well, obviously, any improvements in a building, but those will stay with the building. You know, we're looking at various technologies. You know, we're looking at UVC lights in air handler room. So, you know, there's a lot of technology out there also that, you know, sort of popped up from you know, COVID-19. You know, one thing that, you know, great takeaway from everything that's happening around us, you know, we understood the importance of communication. You know, just talking to our members, understanding their needs. You know, what you know work for them, and you know, there's really no one similar answer. You know, just understanding what's important.
Right. Okay. And I know none of you guys have a crystal ball, but what do you think the startup community is going to look like in Tampa Bay after this is all done? Do you think it's going to be stronger? I know, Shuchi, you're the optimist. Do you think some of it, will it be a little fractured for a bit until we recover fully?
Well, I think every place is going to be a little bit fractured, right? Before we recover. in a way, right? I think in terms of the startup community, I think there have been a lot of initiatives where people are trying to move money out of just Silicon Valley in New York and Boston and into other innovative places, right? And so I think there's been like a mass exodus in New York. I'm seeing that. I've heard of people leaving the Valley, all of that. And so it'd be interesting to see like these people with diverse experiences with larger companies and all of that kind of become a part of these more intimate communities. And so I think Tampa is going to see a little bit of that as well. I think a lot of people had started moving into the Tampa Bay area over the last few years. So it's kind of just going to be a continuous trend. We're also talking to a lot of real estate companies as well to sell to them. And we're learning that, even just around New York, like the smaller towns like in upstate New York are actually doing really well in terms of like real estate prices. Tampa is doing well, all of that. And so it's interesting to look at all these industries together and understand that the ecosystem is going to look very different from it where it does today. And then of course there's awareness around Black Lives Matter all over the country, especially in the startup and funding community as well. And so we're seeing that kind of dialogue start, and hopefully it'll become stronger and stay. It's all here to stay.
Definitely. Great answer. Keriann, want to follow that up?
Oh, geez. No, that's really interesting because, the coming down here would be really fantastic for our groups. It's hard to find biotech investments down in Tampa or in Florida in general. So I'd love to see some of them heading this way from the Northeast. That'd be great. But yeah, I think Tampa's been good. Our numbers are going down. It seems like everyone's getting more comfortable, with school starting back up. We'll see how that all shakes out, but I think we'll have to, wait till January or so just to see what it's going to look like moving forward, because we're still just reactionary at this point. So I don't think we can really know what all will come through. But, some of the things I think that will end up staying are, businesses having the hand sanitizer. I don't think that's going to go away. I think, you're still going to see the mounts in every place. And we have a better awareness of, public health issues that we obviously were neglecting before. And if you just even look at the flu season coming up, I guarantee that the numbers will probably be less than normal just because we have so many good practices in place now to help prevent the spread of infections that it's going to kind of trickle down into other areas of healthcare, I think, for us.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Daniels, what about you?
All the points, I'll join that. But to add to it, obviously, like you said, there's, nobody has that crystal ball, right? So we really don't know where it's all going and how long that's going to really last. I do believe the longer it lasts, some of these startups, they will, will have some negative feedback. So I hope that it goes away fairly quickly. But from a standpoint of what the future really looks like, I think that when you look at history, typically any economic downturn, any crisis, typically brings also a wave of new startups. There's new startups coming out right now. The COVID-19 has created sort of a certain demand, and that needs a certain supply, right? So, and people are quick to figure out things. So I think that there will be definitely new startups coming out of this, and that is, supported by historic data.
Great. Those are great answers. I'm gonna end on a fun one and just ask, what's the one thing you're looking forward to doing once everything is safe again?
Traveling.
Yes.
And seeing more people travel.
Busch gardens. I miss Busch gardens with the kids.
What's that, Daniels?
I said we don't have to wear these anymore, so that's something I'm looking forward, and definitely traveling.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, same here. It's crazy. Even a road trip would be nice right now, but we'll see how it all shakes out. We have a couple questions, so feel free to submit them to our audience as you think of them. We have one pretty in-depth one, so shout out to Daryl Stewart for this. As company owners, you must continue making decisions faster in this ever-changing landscape. How do you incorporate agile leadership, such as being comfortable with ambiguity and embracing this rapid decision making?
Flexibility, I think,
Go ahead, Daniels.
Yeah, flexibility. I think that's one of the things. If you have that ability to you know, change your mind fairly quickly, you know, based on the market conditions, I think you can just be more prepared.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I'm a chemist by training and at heart. So, you know, scientists, we have to chuck something and pivot often in science, especially when you're doing research. So, you know, it's just par for the course in terms of running a business. You've got to be able to let something go that's not working and make that decision quickly to move on to something, a new opportunity, and, you know, always be weighing the, you know, benefits of it at the end of the day against what you're currently doing. Like, you know, cutting out of all the retail stores was a huge change for us, but we looked at the financials and it just wasn't making sense. So we had to do it, but it was a huge one.
When was that decision made for you? Around what time?
I think we ended up coming out of Publix in like 2017, and then we pulled out of all the natural health food stores shortly after that. Just letting, you know, inventory go out and just not renewing with them.
Are you just so thankful that you did that now that there's such a reliance on e-commerce?
Yeah. Well, I have such, you know, it was just so much more time now to focus on the things that are really core to our business, which was the medical space, is where we really want, we know we can thrive and grow with our products for, you know, serious wound care, severe burns, you know, chronic wounds. We actually have a grant that we just submitted for pressure sores with the Army for treating injured soldiers who are getting these horrible, debilitating pressure injuries. And that's where, you know, our products and technology have the potential to really impact lives. I mean, you know, obviously OTC cuts and scrapes, there's a huge need for it, but it wasn't enough to be on the shelves and fighting to get seen constantly in the stores of hundreds of thousands when people can just do a quick search on Amazon and find exactly my product, you know, just by putting in, you know, natural liquid bandage. So it is so much easier, I think, online for something that's as niche as we are, where we didn't have a lot of shelf space. We only had, you know, 2 or 3 SKUs at the most up there.
And then Shuchi, going back to Daryl's question, how do you have leadership, I guess, and how do you deal with this ever-changing landscape?
Yeah, I think remaining optimistic, number 1. 2 is making new connections like we are here. And really, I think the key is you get a lot of ideas, right? Like a lot of ideas thrown at you, a lot of ideas that come from within you. It's like distilling it down, prioritizing, and really understanding what's going to work right now, right? You know, to Keriann's point about Amazon and all of that, I think people have had time to reflect in these past 5-6 months about their choices and, you know, wanting to support more boutique and local businesses, as well as more mindful businesses that are giving back. So that's really interesting for us. And, you know, we can kind of take that to the next level with the platform that we have and continue to highlight the work of more mindful entrepreneurs and creators. And so that's been interesting, while also paying due respect to the larger ones that are doing something. I just proposed something to a very, very large chocolate company. Might come through, but it does have a very strong social impact angle as well. And so, yeah, it's like looking at scale, I think keeping that eye on the prize, and then maybe not getting too attached to too many ideas and just kind of like focusing and, you know, seeing what's going to work now.
I think it just really shows who entrepreneurs are, because you guys constantly pivot anyway. Like there's no set rules that you have to stick by. I think it just kind of shows like this is what you guys are made for, is pivoting. And you guys are the personality traits I will never possess. So props to you. But this question is for Daniels. What kind of cleaning tech are you looking at right now? You mentioned like the UVC. What's that?
Can you repeat the question again?
What kind of cleaning technology are you considering right now or looking at right now? I know you mentioned UVC technology.
Yeah, Triple Root is another one. We just signed a deal with them that we're installing their equipment on the ground floor in the lobby. So when people do arrive to the building, we'll be checking their temperatures. They'll also have a dispenser for hand sanitizer, and we also will be able to sort of profile, who is coming in the building. So, it's male, female, and also like having a better understanding who actually comes to the building as well. So that's some of the that we're looking at, obviously, the ring is geared around the health. So, we were already researching way ahead of pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, how do you even research that? Is it just Googling, or because all this stuff is so new still? But I know you guys were already kind of ahead of the curve when it came to health and internal stuff.
Well, because we decided to build the space based on well standards, that sort of gave us a lot of guidance of where to look and what to look for. And so, we spent 2 years researching, so it's a lot of time. A team of 3 people that spent, traveling also. We went to 10 different countries, looked at 100 different concepts to really narrow down what works, what doesn't work, and just carve out our own unique niche.
Yeah, you guys are definitely doing that. This is a question for all of you. What has been the most difficult decision that you have made so far?
For us, we had to let go of our medical sales rep, which was really stinky. We had just hired her, not even 6 months earlier, and with all the offices that had closed, there was nothing she could do. And she was older too, so we were worried about her. We were hoping she could come into the office and start helping with some other areas, but she was, concerned with exposure, and so there was nothing she could do remote for us, unfortunately. But I'm proud to say she has landed another job, that she's really happy about. So we're really excited for her, and still communicating, and she's still sharing the love for our products, which is great.
Good. I mean, she understood, right? Was it just you looking at the books and saying this is just not going to happen?
Yeah, she's like, there's nothing I can do. They're not letting me come in. No one wants to hear about a new product when they can't even have the doors open at this point. So yeah, it was just one of those where there was nothing we could do about it. And she was a 1099 employee, so we couldn't even furlough or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Whew, tough stuff. Shuchi, what about you?
Yeah, sales reps
Daniels,
had
go
a
ahead.
rough one.
Yeah. Daniels, go ahead.
I mean, that's definitely tough. We when we all started, we decided we're gonna weather it all together. We said that we're gonna figure out how to make it work, and we went virtual. We still paid all the salaries, and which also brought the team closer together. So I think it was a really good experience in a way for us. But as far as the hardest thing for me, I had to pause a project in Europe, which I'm really excited about. But we're back on track right now, so we just have to take a pause.
Huh. How long was the pause for?
So pause was about 3 months. And, Europe is right now probably in better shape, and so we went back to work.
Gotcha. Okay. Shuchi?
I think for us, it was we had just built a partnership early this year with a women's owned certified company to do our fulfillment out of the Tampa Bay area. And, we were about to go to her team, and she actually employs women that are that have difficulty finding jobs elsewhere due to their backgrounds or et cetera. And then we had to kind of start doing everything in-house for a bit. And I think it got to a point where she just could not continue with her business anymore. And it's like, that kind of gave me sleepless nights, because I was like, man, I wish there was something we could do. And it was like, we hadn't pivoted fast enough, or, whatever, to be able to get back to those volumes at that time. And so, that was very kind of a difficult turn of events, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Activities, we have another long question. Activities such as planning and forecasting, assortment selection, pricing and promotions, and replenishment can all be partially automated by using advanced analytics and predictive modeling to enable real-time optimized decision making. Will you eventually use this?
Yes. I think in my business for sure, as we customize more and more and have all these various kinds of customers, we are definitely keen on doing that rather than reinventing the wheel. I think there's some interesting startups that are already in operations or are coming up. I have a friend who's actually starting an e-commerce AI inventory management platform. And so we'll probably want to kind of partner with the right kind of company to do that. I hope that answers the question.
Anyone else? Keriann or Daniels?
Well, I think technology is there to help really. That has become one of the most integral parts of our business as well. So we're constantly looking for new technologies just to make things easier for the management of the space and also for the members as well. So I think it's definitely something that here to stay.
Keriann, does that really affect you at all that stuff, or no?
Well, one of the nice things about working with Amazon as a small business is they do a lot of that for us. They let us know, we do our forecasting with them for, our big shipments that we use, they're fulfilled by Amazon. And I think we were just finally approved for hazmat FDA, thank God. So now they'll be drop shipping the hand sanitizers and fabric sanitizer for us too, which we've been doing those from here because there's not a lot of space for the hazmat products in the warehouses. So we were on a waiting list for a little while, but yeah, I mean, they really handle most of that for us. And we have a couple of e-retailers, but we, they send POs for a couple cases at a time. It's not like we have to do a lot of individual ordering with them. So, we just, we don't really look at it too closely. We're trying to just focus more on making sure we have, we do bulk manufacturing so we can keep up with the forecast for the year. Just looking at our Amazon numbers is our main predictor for it.
Okay. And then I think this is going to be our last question since we're running out of time, but I think this is more to Keriann and Shuchi. With regards to manufacturing, are you planning on staying in the US, going abroad, doing a mix, as this is one of those times where a lot of people realize that, overseas may not be the best right now for it?
Yeah, no, 100%. We've always been a USA-made product and company. So we've worked with, we have two manufacturers. We work with one in Tampa and one in Baltimore. We actually have an office in Baltimore at that facility, and they've been partners with us since 2012. So, and we, like I said, we strive to use all U.S. plastics, bottles, and sprayers. Our labels are local from a company right in Clearwater. We keep everything in the supply chain localized because it's just simpler for us, and we prefer to use, quality products that we can trust and don't have to worry about damage and long overseas shipping and all of that stuff. Just adds so many issues that can come up. We try to avoid anything like that unless we're in a bind like COVID kind of did to us, with having shortages on the bottles and sprayers. But we've actually planned around that so that we don't have to do that anymore. We were able to get our orders in early enough that we're on the first wave of them once it started production again. So we shouldn't have that issue again, thank God.
Okay. Shuchi, anything to add?
No, we're largely a curation company, right? So it's kind of part the choices that we make when we are partnering with brands, right? Understanding who they are. We're putting more stringent measures in place for that as well. But then at the end of the day, if our suppliers use an outer packaging that's made in China, it's something that we can't control. But as long as we're kind of aware and we know that their mission is larger than that. And I think there's just overall across the board more awareness around finding other supply chain solutions. I mean, I try to go towards India every time we have to have something. Like we had eye masks last year. Those were custom made in India, largely because I don't speak Chinese and it was hard for me to get the samples from China. And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Let me just try to see if we can find someone in India. We found someone who actually manufactures eye masks for one of the major Asian airlines. And I was like, okay, well, that's a no-brainer. And so, and then so we're kind of always looking at that. I mean, we're talking to a mask company that gets their cloth from Vietnam, all of that. So we're kind of learning a lot about this, but our goal is to try to be as environmentally friendly as possible and feature brands that are, really conscious.
Definitely. Great note to end on. I think that's it, everyone. So thank you. Oh, we have one more question. Oh, no, that's it. Just someone was saying thank you for this panel. So thank you for this panel, everyone. And thank you for tuning in and listening. There'll be a recap at tampabayinno.com tomorrow morning. So feel free to check that out. And there'll also be the video if anyone wants to listen to this again or pass it on to someone you think could benefit from this. So feel free to do so. But otherwise, thank you guys so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for
Thank
having us.
you. You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.